So I don't know if we got everybody back, but I'm pretty rough with this technology here, but we're slogging through it. Thank you for your patience. Well, anyway, Jenny, what you were saying was pretty interesting about the story. Did you want to say a little bit more so I can kind of catch up with what you were saying?
Well, no, I was just thinking, life as we seemingly experience it is based on, right now for me, seems to be based on the story. And the story could have, from the beginning of evolution, been totally different. I don't know. And therefore, everything could have been experienced totally different. Like how we just name, like, we were just speaking of, courage. Courage is just like a concept. If there's no word there and we're experiencing somebody express, what we describe as courage, stepping out and saving somebody without all the language or the words, we're just experiencing that. And it just is, right? But then we say it's courage, and then we value that, and we want to be that, or we see it. Just language just kind of takes something magnificent, and I know it serves a purpose, but because then we can talk to each other and have interactions, but it makes something. It creates something that otherwise was just a happening, I guess. That's just all coming out, but that's where I was thinking.
Yeah. So courage isn't actually anything. There is nothing called courage, but courage gets born within a story. So now it has a life, and it means something within that story. It's like the furniture of the room. Oh, there's courage is like the chair, and and it has a meaning, and it relates to everything else in the story, and it builds a world. And that's how these stories work. So, and of course they seem real. Most people would say, no, courage is something real, because their perception is that I'm completely inside this story, and it's real. But that's also what we're pointing to here, is that these stories are not real. They have no ability to become real. The ability to be real is really something that is made inside of the story itself. In other words, the reality is backed up by the story, and only with this inside the story. So when you start to notice that the story, the edges are not so, the walls are shaky, and there really isn't anything actually there, then that, because what actually is here is the freedom. And that's, again, there is no story for that. And of course, in the story, that's the other thing about being in a story, is that there's no freedom in the story, but there's always this me inside of it that it wants to be free, and is trying to get free in the story, trying to use all of the things in the story to be free. And it's not possible, because there only is freedom.
Right, like the word peace is born. And now I want peace. It's so lovely or even in my journey here, my seeking, I hear the experiences of others, which is the story of them trying to explain where they're at, and there's resonance there, but there's also like a yearning for that, and then I hear that it's already here. But anyway.
A question, are there two questions, I guess. Are there degrees of freedom, or is it just freedom or no freedom? And is there any benefit if I'm going to call it the goal of being free or allowing freedom? Is there a benefit to making the story that we apparently are living in a more beautiful, life-affirming, healthy story. By having a more healthy story, would that lead to this freedom, or this knowing of this freedom that we're speaking about?
Mind if I take a shot at that, Dan?
I'd love it if you would, yeah. A lot, too many meaty questions for me to, yeah, go ahead, thanks for the help.
Too many what?
Oh, meaty questions.
So they call me with my other friends, they call me the bridger. So I believe very strongly from my own experience. Now we can say that everything is this, of course, but from my own experience, I teach meditation. I've been teaching meditation for 30 plus years. And the effect of, hey, Nkosi.
Hi, Alan. Hi,
Welcome.
everyone.
Welcome.
The effect of, look, if you go back to everything is this, Don, then we can say there's a story or not a story, but they both work. So for my experience in life, when I apply certain things, this person, this character feels better. When I do other things, this person or character feels worse. Now we can argue that it's still all this. But I find that's where things can get a little tricky when you get too hardcore into, you know, all these different definitions. I feel like if it's all this anyway, why not? And I joke with some friends about an analogy I use all the time, but I can go sit over there in the corner where I meditate and do it in silence, or I can go do it next to a jackhammer. If I do it next to a jackhammer, I'm going to probably have a headache. If I do it over there in the corner, I have a chance to be in a lot of peace, calmness, freedom, relaxation. So I guess that would be my way of answering your question. Now, someone else can say these are all terms. Relaxation is a term, peace is a term, but I would say that peace, relaxation, things like that are more resonance. In other words, those are things that are, again, these are terms. So, you know, I know these are still me terms, but I feel like as someone that is a bridger, that there are certain experiences that to me resonate. Like when Faith said earlier that she comes to a full stop, she's using terms to describe a state where she just feels a resonation. She may not even feel a resonation is happening to her as much as there's just a resonation. And in my experience with meditation, that's sort of my quote unquote goal, is to be more in boundlessness, formlessness, expansiveness, and not in a separate state, so to speak. Not that Alan, I don't mind channeling or using Alan as a conduit, because that to me is probably my ultimate goal in life, is to channel the Tao, so to speak, or channel this beingness experience. But it was a long answer. I'm just trying to buy Dan a little more time so he can get his vocal cords rested. But I'm a strong proponent, obviously, of the fact that absolutely there are practices. I've been meditating for 30 plus years. It's not an ego thing. I've just been teaching it. I've had feedback from people for 30 plus years, you know, people that meditate, people that don't. You know, if you drink a gallon of water a night versus a gallon of Jack Daniels, it's going to have an effect on you, right? So that's experience, no matter what, whether we call it this or not this, or both or neither, whatever word or not word you want to use. If we don't even want to use a word and we just pick up a thing of water, we won't even call it water, it's going to have an effect on you. And you have choices in this life. And someone can say, well, the choices happen to you. It doesn't matter. It's all this. So it doesn't matter anyway. So there's my 2 cents. And I would love your feedback, Don, if you have feedback to any of that or anybody.
Well, and I think, Don, you asked your question before Nkosi was with us. So maybe you just want to say it again and address it to Nkosi. I think he might be on board to say something about it. While I lost my screen again.
So the question, more basic, was just, since this is all a story, but apparently we're in the story, is there any value in making that story a very beautiful, productive one where people are healthy and well and people are fed and the earth is clean and all of that? Even though it's still a story, does that serve the everything? Does it? Yeah, something like that.
Well, how does it serve you? I mean, because really you're asking the question. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I mean, you could say, yeah, the royal you for all of us.
It serves me. The more I meditate and eat well and take care of people and do good things, I can engage more in that. This is not me. Okay, I can engage more in that, you know, and sometimes touch this place of where there's nothing for me.
Yeah, everything is okay, just the way it is. You know, everything is fine. There's nothing wrong or right with anything. And there's no you who's trying to do anything, and there's no we to be served. There's just what seems to be happening. And what seems to be happening is not personal, it's just what's happening. It's not happening to you because there isn't a you, it's just wholeness expressing as you. So it's just everything appearing as us. Let me put it this way. Us talking, asking questions, giving answers. There is no actual person who's talking. And there is no escape. It doesn't mean that if you ask another question, then it will be you who's talking. It's just wholeness talking, asking question. You may decide to meditate. That's okay too. You may decide to go to the loo. It's okay. Scratch your head because it's not you. It's just everything doing that. So everything is okay. Everything is beautiful, just the way it is, because everything is just an expression of wholeness of everything. But somebody who's doing it, that's illusory. It's an illusion. You may walk, think, talk, ask question, but you are not doing it. It may seem as if somebody is doing it, but it's just everything doing it. This doesn't agree or disagree with anything. It's just what is. Everything is allowed to express as it is. Everything is good. Everything is beautiful for nobody.
But couldn't you
So
say that everything?
Alan,
Oh, I'm sorry.
sorry. No,
You could also
was
say that everything is good for somebody because that's this too, right?
yes, it's okay. It's okay.
Because, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm just trying to say if everything is this, kind of going back to referencing what Don was saying about improving, so to speak, things, that you could say that if everything is this, then if the somebody feels they need to do X to get to Y, then that's fine too. Yeah, I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's okay. That doesn't change anything. Saying there's somebody doesn't change anything because there's no somebody. Saying there isn't anybody. To say I'm wholeness it's It's a concept, you know.
Mhm.
So say I'm not, doesn't mean anything. It's just this. This is not a story, but it may appear as a story. That's good too. That's also okay. There's nothing wrong or right with anything here.
Mhm.
You may say, I'm a this person, I'm Michael, I'm Nkosi, I'm Dan, I'm Alan. It's fine. This doesn't say that shouldn't be done. That's wrong. It's okay. Everything is beautiful, just the way it is. Meditation is okay. Seeking is okay. Thinking is okay. But here it is seen that there is no somebody who's doing that. It's just thinking happening, walking happening, asking of a question happening. A sense of getting it happening, a sense of not getting it happening. But here is also seen that there isn't a you. It's just everything. If we were to operate on that body to find Alan, we can only find, you know, hearts, intestines. We cannot find Alan there. Because what seems to be Alan is just it's nothing. There's nobody there. It's just everything. It's not separate. There's no Alan who's separate from other things or other people. It's just wholeness appearing as that.
And the appearance of Alan or Dawn or any of this me appearing, the sense of me, is also a feeling that I must do something to get what is already only already done. It can't be, I have to do something in order to get what already is, what only is already. So that's the craziness of it. It's the sense of a separate one is kind of crazy because it's always needing to do something to get to what is just is, which is okay. As Nkosi's saying, it's just what's appearing. There isn't anything else. But we can talk about, this Don or Alan or Dan or anybody if it appears as this activity of trying to get to what's already here, trying to make it happen, make everything already happen. It's crazy, but it's what appears too.
Yeah, but I think human beings have spent their whole life
Well,
in their
you're on
me.
there, but go ahead.
What was that?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead. You think human beings that have spent their whole life?
Human beings have spent, let's say, a lot of their life in general. I'm only generalizing. Whether it's programming, patterns, psychology, emotional stuff. So if the average human being per se is living in stories, this is where I always have a little bit of a hard time with the pure non-duality approach, because I feel like, based on my training with athletes and the mental stuff I work with them on, and I use myself as an example, it's almost like I have to, yes, if there's a deeper part of me that feels that there's nothing but wholeness and beingness and there is no me, but based on the fact that I've been living in this me story per se for a long time, then I like tools to let go of the me, to use the me to let go of the me in a way. That's sort of the catch. And I think that for people that don't have a lot of practice at this and don't really understand this well, it's very hard for them to go to pure wholeness because they have years and years and years of, I mean, literally, you can go into the neurology of the brain, right? There's a lot of programming and patterning that goes on with human beings. So I'm simply putting it out there that I feel like that's why these bridges are essential for most human beings, because the typical human being spends a lot of time in their day, unless they're sitting on a mountaintop somewhere metaphorically, they just spend a lot of time in the me, in the story. They're really good at the me, they're really good at the story. And again, we don't have to say it's right or wrong, but we can also say that that might be more factual. And if we know that, then it makes sense for people to learn about bridges and pointers so that they can, even if they have to use the me, but use the me to let go of the me. And so I feel like that's why both sides are great. It's great to cut to the chase. Everything is this. Wholeness is already here. I grew up in a Zen Taoist, kind of tradition, meaning it's all about no mind, no thought, boundlessness, formlessness, oneness or not two. So I'm all about energy and beingness. But I also have seen from my teachings or from my work over the years that human beings, they need to first understand the me and the story. They need to understand this other thing called not that. And I think that the average human being needs a lot of tools to help let go of the me through the me. So anyway, I feel like that's important because I feel like this comes up a lot in these Wednesday night meetings where we do talk about the bottom line and we're very blunt, and I can be very blunt too because I believe in this path. But I've also noticed that human beings tend to really need tools because there's a lot of history and what I call practice at the story.
I think the dog agrees.
Yeah.
I hope that was an applause as opposed to a jeering, a booing.
No, I think the dogs are agreeing. And it's just this. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what to say to that. I mean, it's all great. And I think that, and of course, if you're working with athletes, you're wanting to get a result in the story, as we could say.
Yeah.
And so that makes sense. And it makes sense in a lot of ways. Doesn't quite make sense to me in one way because it's a story and you're talking about the average human being, and I don't see in any average human beings anywhere. There are no human beings except inside of a story about human beings. But and that's not here. So that's kind of what we try to point to every Wednesday.
Let me change the average human being to I stand corrected, the average story.
Yeah.
Strike it from the record.
Well, okay, that's a good correction. I mean, it's really the same thing, but yeah, I mean, so it's a good story and it makes sense. And yeah.
Well, there's a reason
again,
why.
It's trying to fix something that isn't broken. That's
Correct.
all.
Couldn't agree with you more, but I feel like, sorry?
It's trying to fix something that isn't broken and isn't fixable.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. But we have to take in consideration that there's a lot of me's running around that have no experience or understanding of this. They're living in, let's call it more of a separate state, which is fine. That's this too.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying, like dealing with athletes, is that the reason we're having this meeting tonight is we're trying to either help people be free or help them be free of suffering or be free of stress or be in a better state, or we can just say this meeting's just happening for no reason either. I mean, so there's a lot of things we can say about it, but there's a reason why we're congregating. And I think on a human level, we're trying to better ourselves or feel freer or feel more peace or not be caught up in the me so much. So I just think it's, and you can say that's a story too, but as Don, I think, refers to a lot on Wednesday nights, you know, there is this person here, and we can argue all we want about there is no person or there's no me, and
Right.
but that's anything that if words come out of someone's mouth, essentially it's a pointer, no matter what. I think something Don brings up a lot, which is I notice, is no matter what we talk about, no matter what, is a pointer. Even if we say there's no pointer, that's a pointer. To me, we could sit here really in silence. Like, I think that would be the best metaphor of what we're all talking about each week, if we just sat in silence. Now, because we're not just here sitting in silence, because we want to engage and exchange ideas or what have you, or not want to engage, I think it's wonderful. I think that's one of the beauties of life. But again, I feel like the ultimate pointer really, or the ultimate experience is silence. I mean, let me just say that would be one of the key experiences. So anyway, I've been talking plenty tonight.
Well, the dogs barking might disagree with you about the silence. I don't know.
But it can't be wrong either. I mean, look, everything is this, and
No, I think you're right. That is why we're here. I mean, if we're not even here, and there's no why, but yeah, well, there's nothing wrong. And Nkosi says it all the time. And it's
Alan once said, "There's nothing to do at this moment except have a good laugh."
But also the me pops up and tries to fix. So I like to point that out, you know, that this little me is always trying to make this into what it already is.
Yeah, but I feel like that's necessary unless you're already living in a state of pure transcendence. If you're in a state of, and I know that's a term, but I'm just using that as a broad term. Or I'll use wholeness. Unless you're already in a state of pure wholeness, 24/7, so to speak, even though there's no such thing as time. I agree with you, Dan, but I feel like unless we're living in a state of pure wholeness all the time, right? Then we need to use the me possibly to let go of the me. And I think that's why bridges and pointers are crucial for, anyway, I'll leave
Yeah,
it.
no, I mean, I think that's a perfectly good perspective. And I think it speaks to a lot of people, so-called people, average and otherwise.
How about not average?
Yeah. But it's not what I would say so much, because I forgot how you said it, but to reach a state of something you just said.
Well, everything we're pointing to in these meetings, let's call it wholeness, let's call it pure awareness, pure beingness. How about the non-describable, right? Like the Tao, whatever we're pointing to in these meetings. I'm just saying that I think a lot of human beings need the me to let go of the me, or to be in wholeness that's already there.
That's good. And that's going to resonate with people. To me, it sounds like a story of needing to resonate to get somewhere, and you can't get to what is. I mean, this cannot get any more this than it is. So, yeah. No,
sorry, but to use your own terminology, whatever you're saying or whatever any of us are saying is a story if it's coming out of our mouths. So it doesn't really matter, because wholeness is already here. So whether I'm telling a story that talks about wholeness a certain way, or you're telling a story, or Nkosi, or Don, or Jenny, or Faith, or Leighton, or Joe, it's wonderful. We're just sharing ideas, so to speak, but it may or may not work for everybody. But at the end of the day, we're all talking about wholeness that is already here.
Right.
And that's wonderful. And so whatever story we use that we speak of, it doesn't matter how we say it. If any, I said this earlier, and I mean this. I've really feel convicted about this. Talk about the me. I've really come to a conclusion from watching some serious non-duality speakers that are keep trying to use words to not use words, like right, that whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've just come to the conclusion, and I've talked about this with other friends that are into this, that if anything comes out of a person's mouth, it's a pointer, it's a story. It doesn't matter what they say anymore. They can literally say one word or 50 million words. It's a story. So that's why, Dan, I'm trying to say with regard to, I respect the fact that it doesn't work for you, and that's absolutely fine. I get that. But I'm just saying, no matter what we all say, it's a story. And I feel like the story I'm telling applies to a lot of human beings that have spent a lot of time living in the me that we're trying to let go of, so to speak. That's already, and I'm with you, Dan, it's already there. I actually agree with you 100%. It's already there. So technically, why go into a me to let go of a me if it's already there? I'm just saying, I feel like human beings in general need bridges.
Well, I agree with you 1,000%. So
I agree with you.
yeah, no, it's all good.
The not me appreciates you're not me.
No, but you're right. Whenever we get into words, we're in story and can get confusing.
Yeah, one thing, when we say it's all good, I have a problem with that part, because it's like, if there's only everything, then there's no good or bad. There's no duality. So it's not that everything is good. You could say everything is as it is, something like that. But when they say everything's good, I have a hard time with that.
Well, I think of it as when Nkosi says, which I love, everything is beautiful.
Well, even that word,
Right.
why would it be? I mean, who is that beautiful to? I can get it is what it is. I can get a sense of that. It is what it is, but it's beyond duality, so it can't be beautiful or good, because otherwise you'd have to have the opposite. So you can say this is everything, like this is everything, period.
Nkosi, it's all yours, buddy.
Well, it's just a language, it's just a word. Yeah, it's a concept. Doesn't mean anything. You can say it's beautiful or bad, but it's just the way it is. Doesn't matter. You can say, I hate this message, I love this message. I hate this meeting, I love this meeting. Doesn't matter. This remains as it is. Doesn't change anything. Words are just concepts. This is beyond any word. It's beyond any description. Keeping quiet or talking is the same, because everything is this. So everything is just the way it is. I was gonna say it's beautiful, but I'm afraid now. I'm joking. I'm joking.
But the words really don't mean anything.
Yeah.
And the me, if whatever the appearance of the me is going to hear words and try to grab onto them because the me is trying to get somewhere. Trying to get somewhere in the story, and the words are going to take me there. But there's nowhere to go because everything is already here. And it doesn't go anywhere. There's nowhere for it to go. So we just play with words. But the me can't play with words because for the me experience, the words are always something that are going to take me to where I'm trying to go to. Out of here into there. But there is no here or there. There's just this.
The me doesn't know it's just barking,
No.
just barking.
No, because the me has a job to do. It's busy. It's working.
Mhm.
It's on its way to this. But I personally, just again, talking about the story and the experience, I think everything, Alan, you were saying is beautiful. Well, sorry about that word beautiful, but
You can use it, Dan.
it's just like cooking a beautiful, meal or anything else. And yeah. And so I guess we're going to hit up on our 40 minutes again. And I guess that would be a time to stop, although I'd be happy to keep going if anybody wants to. But
Just want to say a minute or so, it's just like, once again, makes me crazy, my mind, and that's okay. I'm used to that with meditation. I'm really used to that, but there's something so true to me about what's being said. I like to play with it and
yeah,
be devil's advocate, because I'm trying to understand all that stuff, and that's good, but it's like, there's something so true
right.
about, or it's just something so true about it
Yeah.
and freeing about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. And it's nothing I know. It's nothing that I can never know. And we can't really say anything about it. But I show up every week and, yeah. And I would say, you already know it. It's already known. It's obvious. Everything knows it, but not in words. And it's amazing that we can talk about it. And there's something here that isn't words.